Everybody, welcome to Business Unleashed Live. We've got a few here on the group, which I'm super excited about, and just making sure that I'm pinning myself to. So, welcome to the Business Unleashed Live podcasting. So, Chris J, good to see you here. Mark, we've got a few people joining us on the Zooms. If you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube, if you go to www.businessunleashedlive.com, you'll be able to hop on to the live Zoom call here with me. I'll be able to answer your questions, talk to you about tactics, strategies, be able to provide some coaching. So if you're going to be joining me live, we are recording this live. So I know we're on the interwebs as we speak. In fact, I think I'm just looking to see that we are showing up live. And of course, my streaming service is not playing ball. In some places we are showing up live, in other places we're not. Yes, we are. All right, so thank you for those who are joining me here on the Zooms. We've got Luke, Mark, Chris, and a few others that are just coming on board here. I want to talk about probably one of my favorite topics, and that is the topic of sales and sales process. And so what I want to talk about ultimately is to shift the thinking around how you approach your sales process right now. So what generally happens in the market, and I see this all the time, especially in the agency world, is that we our offer or our hook is to offer a strategy session, right? A lot of people do this, and in that strategy session you get to ask a whole bunch of questions. Your client answers those questions, and then you go away and you put a proposal together. With that proposal, then you send that proposal or you present that proposal, and hopefully you'll generate a client. So if we look at mapping out the current sales process, the average sales process that goes on right now is that most people in the world are just happy to speak to a human being or a live body. So they think there's a little bit of blood in the water, and then we'll jump into the call and away we go. But things cannot be further from the truth. So number one, if we want to look at our sales process, we need to kind of start at the very beginning. What are people engaging us for? What are they doing? What do they get? What happened to get them to the appointment stage? There are only two things that are important in any agency business or any consulting business or any coaching business: is how many appointments you have this week and how many sales presentations are you delivering this week. And so the traditional model is people offer a strategy session, and the strategy session isn't really a strategy session. What the strategy tends to be is it turns out to be a Q&A session, right? There's two things that'll happen. It'll either be a Q&A session, so you get to ask a whole bunch of questions, and then at the end of it, you can say to the client, great, I'm going to go away, put a proposal together, going to spend a couple of hours, put a proposal together, going to send you that proposal, and then make an offer and see if we can work together. And so this is generally what happens. A strategy session is not a strategy session. Essentially, it's a Q&A discovery call. From the discovery call, we generate a proposal. From the proposal, then we hope the person buys what we have to offer. And many times, there's a couple of parts where this kind of falls over. It falls over where we haven't qualified the person that we're speaking to. So maybe we don't have the decision maker. We might have a CMO or a marketing person or somebody that is doing the inquiry on behalf of somebody else. So that's one reason this process or the current sales process would fail, right? The second thing that people do is they maybe they're talking to the right person, but the company or the person they're talking to actually doesn't have a budget, isn't really ready to go or invest in your services. And so naturally what happens is they just don't go ahead. They just don't have the money, right? And anything you offer them is going to be way too expensive in terms of what you're doing. So that's another issue. Being ready, right? The fact that's the other thing that stops the sales process is the very thing you're offering. Are they ready to actually get started now? Or is this something that they're exploring the idea of? So these are all the reasons why the sales process fails. The number one reason it fails is the qualification process. Is we need to be sitting down with somebody who, one, they can make a decision. Two, they've got a budget. Three, they've got a need that needs to be taken care of. Four, they are the decision maker. They're the person who's going to buy, right? And five, that they know that you're the person that's going to deliver, right? They know that you're the person that's going to deliver. So that's why they're sitting down with you. And 80% of your sale is going to be made before you actually do a pitch or a presentation. So traditional method is somebody's gone, yeah, I'm interested in Facebook advertising or AdWords or whatever, send me a proposal. You do some questions, you do some discovery. Your free strategy session is no longer a free strategy session. There's a discovery call. You go away, spend hours putting a proposal together. And then you do one of two things. You're either going to present that proposal, so you're going to walk the person through the presentation, or you're going to send them, email them the proposal, and you're going to ask them to buy, right? And on that proposal, you're going to have the prices. And generally on a proposal, the prices are on the last page. And so what happens is if you're dealing with somebody who is not the actual decision maker, the person that you've been dealing with is going to take your proposal, going to go to somebody who is a decision maker, say, hey, I've got a proposal for this deal for Facebook advertising or for Google Ads or for lead management. I've got this proposal. What do you think? And this person that they sit down with has no relationship with you. So the only thing they can think about is, well, how much is it going to cost? And so they go all the way through your 3 hours of proposal to the last page, the very last page. And on that last page, they see the price and they're going to make a decision. The first thing they do is they'll go, wow, either that's expensive, no context compared to what, or they're going to go, can we be spending this money elsewhere? Could we be doing something else other than this? That's the direction that most people are going to go if you don't have a relationship with the person that you're presenting your offer to. So what most people do is they put the money on the last page and everybody just bypasses everything you said about all the value you do, how you do what you do, and they go straight to the money. And then it all becomes about the money, not about the outcome or the result. And this is where, and generally what happens in that scenario is they'll get into a situation where they might need to think about it. So you're going to get into a think about follow-up, or they've got a money objection, it's too much. So the deal doesn't go ahead for whatever reason, or they ghost you, right? Many people I know that they've made a proposal, everything was looking good, everybody's excited and happy. And when they finally get to the crunch of the things, life moves on and the person decides not to go ahead with the deal. Or they ghost you, they literally disappear, they don't respond to your phone calls, your emails, or anything, right? They're out, right? And generally this means that there is a reluctance to say no, or generally they've moved on and other things have gotten busy. And what it is that we're talking or discussing with you isn't important anymore. So this happens a lot. And this wastes a lot of time. This wastes a lot of time for people. So one of the things that in your sales process, if you want to dramatically improve your chances of converting a deal, is you want to be very sure that there is actually a deal to convert. That's number one, right? Most people, there's no deal to convert. In a lot of cases, it's exploration. Oftentimes when people say to me, hey, send me a proposal, I'll say, look, I'm more than happy to send you an invoice with a list of inclusions. That's what I'll send you. If you ask me a proposal, I'll send you an invoice. You're going to pay me money. I'm not going to send you a proposal in exploration. And you're wasting your time, absolutely wasting your time, if you are sending a proposal for them to check out your price, because then it's not about what you deliver and the outcome you deliver. It's all about the money. And if it's all about the money, then they don't understand what you're delivering. You don't understand what you're delivering. And there's a miscommunication in terms of the value proposition of what you're offering to the market. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through a very different scenario, one that is much easier, one that will actually drive you towards actually generating a sale. There are many people that I work with in my coaching programs and with Consulting Champions, which I teach this process to, and they close hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of deals doing exactly following this process that I'm about to share with you. So one thing is you want to map out your sales process. Most people don't have a mapped out sales process. They don't have structure. They tend to be a little bit unstructured, and ultimately they miss out on opportunities, or they burn opportunities. Now that may or may not be you, but if you want to be successful and you want to do very well and you want to close deals and bring clients on board, you must have an outline of at least your process of how you get the customer to say yes to you. And that's all the way through to you collecting payment and onboarding the client. So if we started our sales process at the onboarding the client stage, if that was the beginning of our sales process, not the end of our sales process, what most people do is they start at the very beginning of the sales process and they do all the steps. It's much easier to actually work backwards so you don't miss anything along the way. So I'm going to literally step out a sales process for you that you can use in any business, but it just gives you a structure. So we're going to start where the person has signed an agreement, paid money in your bank account, and you're at the onboarding stage. That is where we start. We're starting with the end in mind, that you're onboarding a brand new client and you're at this point. So the next question you want to ask yourself is, what just happened just before you onboarded the client? And what just happened before you onboarded the client was your welcome email, right, was your welcome and thank you for being a customer. That's what happened before you onboarded the client. So you welcome along. Now, before you sent the welcome email, they actually paid you money, right? They paid money in your account. So the next part of that process, working backwards, is they paid you money. They put a deposit down or an initial installment in your bank account. Now, before that, they signed an agreement, right? Or maybe your agreement and your payment is attached to the same document. There's plenty of tools that you can use like Proposify. There's tools like Bid Sketch. There's a whole bunch of tools you can use to actually get agreement and payment all done in one place. You can automate this process. You know, we're in the age of technology, you can pretty much make this an automated process. But the stage before that, so they pay you money, money goes in the bank account, right? Before that, they signed an agreement. They accepted your offer. Now, before that, you were in the midst of, you offered the deal. You offered them options of which they would buy, right? So you're either going to offer one option or you offer them multiple options, right? So you're in the sales process. Before that, you took them through a demonstration of what you're doing as part of your solution. Before that, you articulated exactly what their objective and what their outcomes were and what the bottlenecks were. Before that, you perhaps might have done a discovery call, or there might have been an email to confirm that sales presentation. Before that, you did a discovery call. So the next stage in discovery. In discovery call, you answered a whole bunch of questions before that, right? Before the discovery call, you made an appointment for the discovery call. And before that appointment, you sent an email confirming that appointment. Before that discovery call, you did a qualifying call. So before that email to confirm a discovery call, you did a qualifying call, right? That qualifying call, you asked a series of questions for them to make sure that they were the right fit for your offer. And so you took them through that qualifying call. Before that, right, the next step before the qualifying call was perhaps an email to confirm the qualifying call. Before the email to confirm the qualifying call, there might have been a phone conversation or a lead magnet or an ad or that they responded to where they went to your calendar and they booked an appointment, right? So there's that. And then there might have been your targeting. It might have been a cold email outreach campaign. It might have been an ad campaign. It might have been a video. It might have been a social group. It might have been a live webinar. Before that, all the way through. Now, if you looked at what I've just outlined for you, there was about 11 steps in that entire sales process. So if we can actually map out from the journey of when somebody is onboarding as a client, all the way back through every single step that has to happen to generate that sale, to make that sale, we now have an articulated sales process. We've articulated the entire sales process from end to end, but we started at the very beginning of the client relationship, not at where the top of the funnel. We didn't start at the top of the funnel. We started all the way through, right? So that's, now we have a sales process. So now we've got to basically fill in the details of each of those sections. Now there's two critical pieces in the sales process that are really, really important. The qualifying piece is really important. You can either qualify in an automated fashion or having automation where you're asking the client to answer a whole bunch of questions to make an appointment. And you can qualify. You can ask qualifying questions around budget. You can ask qualifying questions around what their problems are. You can ask qualifying questions if they need to start now or start later. You can do all of that, and you can do that in an automated fashion. I would prefer that you had a physical conversation with a client. And the reason why I would prefer that you have a physical conversation with a client is because you're building rapport and a relationship. You're asking people to spend thousands and thousands of dollars with you. You're not asking people to spend $100 or $50. You're asking people to spend thousands. Now, for people to make that decision, if you've got a deal that's $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year if they stay with you for a year. If you've got a $3,000 deal a month, that's $36,000 they're making a decision on. If you've got a $5,000 deal a month, it's $60,000 they're making a decision on. So you need to get in somewhere in your sales process, depending on what you're selling and how you sell. And if it requires a conversation, at anything over $1,000 a month is definitely going to require a conversation. Right? Anywhere where they're going to put 10 grand or 12 grand down, it requires a conversation. Anything at the $5,000 mark requires a conversation. So you want to do a qualifying call. Now, in the qualifying call, we want to establish what's important here. Right now, what's important for you and what's important for them. That's what we need to establish in the call. We need to establish a couple of things in that call. Number one, we need to establish an objective. And the way in a qualifying conversation, you can pretty much say, hey, I just want to very quickly, this is what's going to happen. We have an agenda. This call is going to take about 15 minutes. I have a series of questions that I'd like to take you through. And we really want to establish two things, right? The two things we want to establish is one, the objective and why you want to do this, right? We want to establish the objective and why you want to do this. And number two, we also want to establish whether or not you and I are the right fit. They're the two things that you want to establish in a qualifying call, and the person's going to go, yes, right? Now, in that process, you're going to ask some questions. So I generally ask about 13 different questions if I'm trying to get qualification, but I want to really understand what their objective is. Why are they on this call? Why are they interested in what we've got to offer here? I want to understand that, but I really want to understand what's important here, right? So what do you want to do? When somebody says, well, we need to run a Facebook ad campaign, great. What does that look like? What does a successful campaign look like? What is, what is the outcome you're looking for? Why do you want this Facebook campaign? I want to get into the weeds, right? I want an objective. So, you're going to make an investment in this. What do you want out of this? And they might say, well, we'd like to see another 10 clients a month, or we'd like to see another 5 clients a week, right? 20 clients a month, or 40 clients a month, right? Okay, clients or opportunities, right? Well, opportunities. Well, let's get really clear, right? 40 opportunities is not 10 clients a month, right? That could be 4 clients a month. So we want to get clear about the objective first. Then we want to understand, I like to track the objective and attach the objective to money, right? Well, what is the outcome here of the objective? How much revenue we're talking about? If you want to add another 4 or 5 clients a week over and above what you're doing right now, and if your average sale is $10,000, that means $40,000 a week, that's $120,000 a month, right? That's the objective that you're trying to reach over and above what you're doing right now. So what you're doing, or what you're adding to, is you're adding an addition. You're adding an addition, right? So I want to know what that objective is, and if I can attach a monetary figure to that objective, then it makes it a lot easier to develop a plan and a strategy to be able to help that client get that outcome, right? So objective first. My second thing that I need to know about is why. Why this objective? Why is this important? Why do you need to do this, right? Well, we want to grow, we want to scale, we want to hire people, we want to bring in new product line, we want to expand our operations, we want to crush the competition. Why is this important? Because if we don't establish a why, then it's not important, it's not going to go ahead, right? We have to establish a why. Why is this important? And then we kind of understand, well, why aren't you getting this result right now? What's going on? What's not happening, right? We don't have a strategy, we don't have the right team, we don't know what to invest, we don't know how to make this work. There's all these reasons as to why, right? What the roadblocks are, right? So in the rapport, in the qualifying stage, I'm going to ask a couple of questions about those objectives. I want to get really clear. So listen, so this is your objective. You said that you want to hit, 4 extra clients a week. That's 16 clients a month. The average investment is $1,000. So you're looking at 40 grand a week, 120 grand a month is what you're after. $160,000 a month is what you're after in revenue. Is that clear? Yes, that's what we want to do, right? To be able to do that, got a couple of questions around conversion, right? If we gave you 10 people, how many of those people would convert? I'll say 10. That means we've got to give you 80 opportunities for you to have that outcome. We worked out a little bit of a plan. So I want to be super clear. Do you understand that it's going to take an investment, right? And the investment on average is going to be between here and here. Can you handle that? You want to get the money right up front. In the qualifying call, you want to put the money right up front. So, hey, when people work with us, normally they invest between here and here. Can you handle that investment, yes or no? Right? So that way, when you present to them, you're not taking them all the way through a presentation and then throwing the money up, and then they go, oh, wow, that's more expensive than I thought it would be. They know how much it costs before they actually get to the presentation, before they see your offer. So in this qualifying call, we want to qualify them if they've got the money, if they can pay, right? There are 3 things that you need to know about a client. One, are they the right client? Can you help this type? Are they the right person to speak to? Number 2, can you help them get a result with what you do? And number 3, can they afford you? Can they pay you, right? You need to know those 3 things. You need to tick all those 3 boxes, right? So, and I'm happy, I will answer questions in a moment. So once we've ticked all these 3 boxes, we're going to ask that question, can you afford this? Great. You want to also ask the questions, when do you need to do this? You need to do this now, like we've got to get it done now, we want to get started, or is this something you're taking consideration down the track? Do you want those 4 clients a week now, or do you want them in 2 months' time or 3 months' time? When do you want them? We want to do them now. So is there anything else that will get in the way of you going ahead with this project right now in your business? Nope, there's nothing to go ahead. We need to do this now. So 10 out of 10, I've got to do this now. So now we're establishing that this is something they want to do now, not later. So we're not wasting time. There's no point in doing a presentation to anybody who wants to do this later. We only want to talk to people who want to do this now, right? So the other thing I want to qualify is who's going to make the decision on this. Is it you? Is there a partner involved? Do you have a managing director? Does your wife or your husband need to be involved in this decision, right? So are you going to make the decision, or do we need to share this with other people to get buy-in, to get them on board, right? No, it's just me, or yes, I have my wife, or I have my husband, or I have my business partner who needs to be involved. Great. So when we do a presentation, to give them the courtesy to be able to answer their questions on what their issues are around this and be very clear, we want to make sure that they're there as well. So you're dealing with a decision maker, you're not dealing with somebody who can't make the decision, right? So that's another thing you want to qualify for. The other thing that you want to understand is what's going to hold them up, what's going to hold you back, right, from doing this. Is there anything you can think of that will hold you? If you've got the right offer, you got the right plan, you got the right structure, is there anything that you can conceive that will not go ahead? They go, no, we're pretty good. If we've got the right offer, we've got the plan, we're good. Okay, great. So the other thing you want to do is you want to minimize the impact of I need to think about it, right? And how you do that is ask a really simple question. Look, I'm going to go away, we're going to put together a plan for you. And in that plan, we're going to be asking you to make a commitment to that plan. I just want to ask you, when we do the presentation, can you please, can you definitively say no to us? If the plan's not right for you, when we present that to you, can you say no to the plan? Can you make that decision on the spot to say no? And they go, yeah, I can make the decision. Great. So alternatively, if we've answered all your questions and we've shown you how this is going to work, then is it okay if we show you how we can get started at the end of our presentation, yes or no? And they're going to go, yeah. So great. And what I do is I anchor the statement, say, great. So look, the best people we work with, the people who are decisive and make decisions, and these are the people who get the best possible results. So I want to thank you for being able to make a decision at the end of our presentation. That way, you stop the I need to think about it, and you stop the money objection. So in your qualifying in the sales process, this is really easy. It's very easy to have this conversation. I had a guy called Doug who I went through this exactly what I've just told you. I shared with him. He literally tried on the next call, and the client bought. The client said, yep, I can say no, or yep, I can say yes on the spot, and they bought, right? Straight away, just by doing this little qualifying process, right? So now we've handled the money objection right up front. They can afford it. They can handle the investment. We've handled the, I need to think about it. No, if this is right for us, we want to go ahead. Thank you. You're going to show us how to get started. Or no, we can say no on the spot. So we're making a definitive, we don't need to think about it. Do we need a partner involved? We've asked the qualifying question of a partner. Do we need to, also make sure that we're maximizing our opportunity to go ahead now rather than later, right? So do we need to do this now rather than later? So now we've actually eliminated all the objections. And if you've done this in a qualifying conversation, and by the way, you can do this in an automated fashion. You don't have to ask these questions. You can also automate these qualifying questions through your Calendly link. You can ask these questions, right? Yes or no, yes or no. You know, can you afford this range? Please type in, yes, I can afford that budget. So you know they're qualifying. Yes, I can afford that budget. You can do this in automation. I would prefer this to be done to have this done on a phone call in a conversation, right? So the next part of this equation that I would be looking at is to now confirm your presentation. So you can say, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go away, I'm going to put a plan together based on this objective and based on why this is important. And we're going to eliminate these roadblocks. I'm going to put a plan together so we can move forward and execute and get you those 4 or 5 clients per week that you're looking for. Are you okay with that? Can we go ahead and do that? So I'm going to go away and do that. Going to confirm a time. You can give people a couple of options. I've got Monday or Tuesday, 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which suits you best. And you're going to confirm that appointment. You need to confirm the appointment. And before you confirm the appointment, you need to do what we call a little bit of indoctrinating. And what indoctrination is essentially letting them know who you are, who you help, and how you help them. So you've got to send a bit of information about it historically, what what's your expertise, what's your knowledge, your qualifications for doing what you do. Give them some understanding. Maybe share a video of your framework or how you solve a problem. You want to indoctrinate them before you get to the presentation so they can get to know you a little bit better. This is also a very professional way of building rapport. This is going to dramatically improve your conversion rate if you do some indoctrination. Because if you have to do indoctrination in the calls, then you've got to build all this rapport right up front. So you've got to be very mindful that you want to be able to help people to make that decision, right? So as we go through the process, we need to now get to our presentation. And the best way to do a presentation is have it all pre-prepared. Your demonstration is going to be the same demonstration you do for everybody. You're going to walk people through all the stuff you do on a consistent basis. That's what you do, right? And then from there, you're actually going to deliver a solution. And I would recommend that you give people 2 options, 2 or 3 options, 2 minimum, 3. You want to give people a yes or a yes answer, not a yes or a no. What most people do is they do a one-shot deal and it's a yes or no, right? What you want to do is you want to give a yes or yes. So, hey, based on what we talk about, here's this option. If you want to speed things up or add some value, or this is the better package, this is the better program, which would you believe suits you best? And they're going to pick one. That means that they're going to engage or step into your opportunity. So don't give them one option to buy, give them 2 or 3, 2 or 3, right? And you can use the strategy of what we call decoy pricing, where you make the lowest price unattractive, that option unattractive, and you make the highest price unattractive, but you make the price in the middle very attractive as a value add. And that's the one that people want to buy. So you're walking through that sales process. So now that we've qualified them, we've done the qualifying bit, we've got to do the sales process. Now the sales process, you do exactly what you did in the qualifying bit to make sure that everything's okay. You're okay with the budget. You know you want to do this right now. You're going to make a decision today, yes or no. You're okay to do that. We've got your partner there, right? And you know, and with this, you know, if everything's okay, this is our objective. This is why we want the objective, and this is what we're going to do to solve or unblock the roadblocks that help us get there. And you are the person to deliver the plan and the outcome for the client. And so all you're doing is following that process. Great, let's be super clear. Is the objective clear? We're super clear on objective: 4 clients a week, 16 clients a month, average sale 10 grand. To get 4 clients, we need to get 20 opportunities. We've got to give you 80 leads a month. That's the objective, right? Why do you want this? We want to grow, we want to expand, we want to scale. Has anything changed? Nope, we want to do all those things, right? Do you want to do this now or do you want to do this later? I want to do it now. So you're qualifying people in that call, right? Roadblocks, you don't have the strategy right now. You don't have these sales. You don't have, you might not have the resource of the right people in place. You don't have the team, right? But that objective is important. So is it okay if I walk you through how we're going to get to the objective, and that's your demonstration? Now, at the end of the demonstration, you're going to stop. You don't, what most people do is they go to the demo and they go straight to the price, right? You're going to stop and you're going to ask, is this what you're looking for? You know, do you have any questions? Are we on track? Do you like the idea of what we're sharing or what we're presenting to you? They're going to go, yes, I love the idea. I think it's awesome, right? And so from there, then you're going to ask a question. Say, great, so what do you think we should do now? And they're going to say, well, I don't know, how's this work, right? Or they're going to say, share a price with me, right? And so what you want to do is you want to go, well, look, before I do that, can I walk you through how we work together, how we implement and how we're going to do this and how we get this going? So, yep, we can do that. Great. So you're asking those questions, you're sharing what you do, they work with each other, and you can ask a question. Do you have any questions about how we work together? You're cool with that? Yep, we're all right. Do you have any questions about it? No, we don't. So great. What do you think we should do now? And they're going to say, well, how much is it going to cost? And great. So before you say, let me show you how much it's going to cost, you're going to ask a question. Are we on the money with the objective? Are we on the money with this process? Are you serious about getting this done? Yes or no? No, we're serious. Great. So let me walk you through the investment. The investment's going to be 2 or 3 options. Option 1, this is the basic bare bones to get things going, to get things moving, to start the process. But what you're asking us to do is what most of our clients want, is they want option number 2. Is the enchilada option is going to give you a better result, it's going to give you better outcomes, it's going to give exactly what you said you wanted as the objective, right up there. Option 1 is going to take a little bit longer. Option 2 is going to get you there a lot faster. Option 3 is the whole enchilada. That's going to put it on steroids. And some people work with, they want to go the whole hog and do everything, and they're option 3. Of these 3 options, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect or person, right? Which of these do you believe suit you best? And they're going to go option number 2, because that's the one you told me everybody buys, right? So you've directed them to the one that you want them to buy, which is going to be higher than the one that you would normally sell, right? And then from there, you're going to be very clear. Say, great. So you're cool about what the inclusions are. You're cool about how this is going to work. You're cool about, then they go, yep. You're cool with the money. Money's good. Great. So great. And then you stop right there and you're going to ask a question. So where do you think we should go to from here? What do you think we should do now? And inadvertently, they're going to step themselves into going, well, how do we get it started? Right? Or I guess we need to get this started. Now, if they go back to, I've got a question, then you've got to go back to, okay, let's get very clear. That's your objective. Your question, you don't have a question around objective. You don't have a question around the strategy. You don't have a question around the demonstration of what we're going to deliver. You don't have a question around how we on board. You know that this is the outcome we're looking to. You're investing X amount of dollars and the goal that we're asking is this. Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Great. So what do you think we should do? And they're going to go, well, I think we should go ahead. And this is how people step themselves into buying. This is how people step themselves into buying what you have to offer in the market. And this is what most people don't do. They either give up too early, they sheepishly share the price, right? So then it becomes about the dollars, and then it's over, game over, right? So they're going to buy you. 80% of the time, it's your confidence, your believability, they know that you can deliver. If you've got through the qualifying process, 80%, they've already bought you. The only thing that's going to convince them is that last 20% is they're then making the right decision based on what you've told them, right? And that last 20% really falls on your shoulders, not theirs. So you've got to help them understand that you're the right person, that you're the know, like, and trust factor. And that's why you're going to do indoctrination before the appointment. That's why you're going to make sure you're very clear about the objective, the outcome, and eliminate all the objections before you actually get to the sales process. So all they're really considering is whether or not they should start. That's it with you in that process. So we move away now from a proposal situation, no more proposals. We're now dealing with a real plan for a real thing that people are interested in executing on. There's no need for a proposal, right? All there is a payment link, and you can ask for that payment. You can ask for the credit card right on the spot in that moment because they've given you permission to do that. It's really simple, right? You can ask for the agreement. The agreement is terms and our inclusions. This is what we said that we would do. Here's our terms and conditions. Click the button, sign. You can do that on the spot. You don't need to send a proposal. You don't need to send an agreement. You don't need to send an invoice. No more. You close the deal on the spot. And this is how you dramatically improve your conversions to 80%, as opposed to dropping your conversions down to 10 to 20% because you're elongating the sales process. You don't need to elongate the sales process. So a couple of questions here that people have asked. So Rajesh is asking, how would getting a number of clients work for lower price items like a hotel reservation or restaurant patrons who don't spend nowhere near $10,000? Well, what do they spend? $100 a night, $300 a night? How many rooms have you got? I've got 100 rooms. That means 100 rooms at $300 a night, that's $30,000 a night. What we want to do is we want to get how many bookings to fill the room. What's the gap, right? And they might say, well, we need an extra 10 bookings a night. Well, that's an extra $3,000 a night. That's an extra $21,000 a week. That's an extra $84,000 a month. That's an extra $920,000 a year in sales. That's what you would do if you had a smaller number that you were dealing with in the marketplace. So what you want to do is you just want to break down based on what they're looking for as their numbers. And so the key question is, what is it going to take, depending on what strategy you are using, what is it going to take for them to be able to hit that number? That's the process, or that's the goal that you're taking people through, if that makes sense. So thank you for asking the question. And we are streaming on some other channels, Rajesh, but obviously our tech is having a problem. But for those of you who are joining me live here right now, feel free to ask me a question. Somebody was asking, going back to the start of the sales process. Yes, what about the start of the sales process? Luke Berry just asked me the question. If you want to unmute, Luke, and you've got a mic, unmute and we can answer that question. So what's the question you've got, Luke? About the start of the sales process.
Yeah, you got me there?
Yeah, I got you, Luke. How you doing?
Yeah, so good, thanks, John. Mate, just wanted to ask, going right back to the start of the sales process, obviously, yep, with everyone in different industries and having different strategies around this. I'm in the technical, well, type of office equipment type space, and I'm finding it really hard to kind of get in front of the right people.
Yep. So who's the right person?
And
who's the right person to get in front of?
Well, it depends on the business, but most of the time it's the IT or operations or office manager, those types of people for the initial discussions. Yeah.
Who's the person that's going to hire you, Luke?
Who's the person that's going to hire me? Oh, I'm actually yes. Sorry, you kept cutting out a bit.
Sorry, who's gonna pay you? Who's gonna hire you?
Who's going to pay me? Probably the financial controller.
Okay, so is the financial controller want to say, yeah, we're going to do this, or somebody else going to make that decision?
Well, he's going to have the final say.
Okay, so that's the person. That's the person you need to pitch to.
Okay.
Whoever's going to have the final say, right, is the person you need to present to, because they're the person who's going to have the final say. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
so if we know it's the financial controller, if we know that's the person that's going to buy, if that's your buyer, right? Then the question is, what questions do you have to answer to enable the buyer to buy? Right? How do they make that decision to see that you're the right solution for their services? There might, depending on how big the company, there might be more than one stakeholder, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. If there's more than one stakeholder, then there's more than one stakeholder. You have to speak to all the stakeholders, right? Who are going to make the decision. But if the person is going to write the check, as long as that person has all the information to be able to write that check, and that's what you've got to get to in the process, right? And by the way, sitting there and saying, "Hey, trying to get in front of people," what's their problem when it comes to your stuff, right? What's the big issue that they have when it comes to dealing with what it is that you have to offer, right? If the issue is big enough and it's relevant enough and pertinent enough, then they're going to hop on the phone, right? And so the question is how do you make that relevant to them? What is something they must do, right? What is the problem that you're solving? What is the problem that they have? Or perhaps they don't know that it's a problem, but they should be aware of the problem, right? So it all steeps at the very beginning of the relationship, Luke. It all that problem and how you solve that problem for your prospective customer. That's what we do. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's a numbers game. Getting people on, get a list. You only need a list. By the way, what's your average? So I'm going to ask you, Luke, average service. How much do you charge for what you charge for what you do?
Average is probably around 5K
a month.
We do it up. We do not per month. So we would probably around 10K for a sale, but we do it over 36 months, 60 months.
So they're paying you $300 a month.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, mate. You should have the easiest sales process on the planet. If the service you're providing is relevant and helpful and supportive of them, you should be selling 20 of these a week.
Yeah. Well, that's...
if you understand the problem, if you understand the market, and that price point of $300 a month, which is nothing to a business that's got more than 5 employees, right? Especially IT businesses. My question is, how important is what you have to offer in relation to a problem that you solve for them?
Yeah.
Because it's a very big problem. Yeah. So it's not a big, that's not a huge thing to make. Yeah.
No,
that's a relevancy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
so I would imagine you don't get any pushback.
Oh yeah, I get plenty of pushback because we've got it's kind of a flooded sort of market. That's all. So we're competing against people that do exactly what we do. So you're kind of trying to differentiate ourselves a little bit because we all offer the same service at relatively the same price. So yeah, just looking at ways to be a bit different, to be honest. Yeah.
So so the question really is, you want to focus on making sure that you are differentiating. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You want to be creating those point of difference, and you want to also look at ways in which you can add value, which is different to the way that your competitors add value. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully that's helpful, Luke.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. Thanks, John.
Awesome, mate. Thank you. Chris is asking, or Brian, how would I apply this sales? We with SaaS companies, to answer that question, Brian, it's the same process. Whatever SaaS you're delivering or whatever you're offering is the problem you solve for the market. And as long as that's relevant and something that the market actually wants and sees that as an option, they're going to buy it. So it's all going to be how you break this down, your sales process, and why they need to buy your software as opposed to software in the market. It goes back to what problem is your software solving, how bad is that problem, and how important is it for them to make that decision moving forward. And then what is the process for them to start integrating the software that you're selling into the market, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's the same process, but you can either do it electronically, you can either depending on what the price points are. If it's low margin price points, then things like lead funnels, lead all those sorts of things help client to make a decision on whether or not you're the right product in the market. It's $4,800 a year. For me, I'd be pitching that on webinars all day long, right? I'd be doing demonstrations of the software. $4,800 is not very expensive. That's a pretty small price. It's like $400 a month on average, which is pretty good. So yes. Chris, if they mention a proposal, you say that you're sending an invoice. Does an invoice follow a positive decision on a proposal? No, the reason why I say that, so Chris, the reason why I say I'm going to send you an invoice with a list of inclusions is because when somebody asks me for a proposal, my first question is, well, for what, right? Like, is this something that you want to do right now, or is this something you're thinking about it? I would never waste my time on sending proposals seriously considering or ready to start the project or the thing that I'm right now. That's why I don't send proposals. I'm going to say, what are we doing? Let's work on the plan to do that, and then let's get that done, right? You can pitch and present rather than propose. Invoice is a list of inclusions. Here's my terms and conditions. This is it. Pay me money. You've agreed to the terms and conditions if you pay, right? The reason why, a bit of tongue in cheek, when somebody asks me for a proposal, right? Generally what somebody's doing is they're fobbing you off. I generally find when people are, if you're offering a particular service and they just go straight to, great, send me a proposal, right? Or send me some information, right? Well, if anybody asks me, send me some information, great. So you do this. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Let's hear about what you're doing and why you need to see what we've got. Like what, let's focus in on the, so that we can get on time, because is going to be me wasting time putting it together and you not even looking at it, right? A structure. My point in looking what you've got, any 8 hours after presentation, Chris, they're out. 48 hours, right, after your presentation, they have, you've shared them. Hours, gone. Right, so you want in the game, you want to be making what you're asking for, what they're asking for is something they want to do right now. Do you add agreements? Yeah, well, that's your terms and conditions. So if you want a recurring, if you've got a recurring situation, absolutely, you've got a recurring situation. But an agreement is a agreement. So they're going to sign to an agreement, and in that agreement, you're going to list, this is what we're selling you, and these are the terms and conditions of how you pay, all those sorts of things. So the answer to your question, Chris, is absolutely. I would do it in a service level agreement. But yeah, I try and avoid proposals like the decision, right? I remember this deal, $2 million. It was all on that $2 million deal. There was a whole bunch of meetings and a whole bunch of things that we had to have to make sure we get there. And then there was just an agreement, and that was it, right? So we knew exactly what the objectives were. That was all outlined in our presentation, exactly what needed to happen, how they were going to put the deal into place, what was going to work on. We had an agreement. They accepted all the things. Right? Here's what we're doing for that $2 million. Here's the $2 million. How are you going to pay us the $2 million? And here's your signature to accept that this is the deal that you're accepting. That's it. No proposal. Yeah. But that's where you're working on a deal. Back in McKinsey, we never did proposals. We never did it in the number of years I've worked at McKinsey. We signed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of deals, and we never did a proposal for anybody, ever. They basically, what we walked through, we would do discovery, we would find out what needed to happen, we'd make recommendations, and they would agree or disagree with the recommendation. And if they agreed, we had an agreement, and they got a proposal. Yeah. Thanks. My network is low with me. I'm hoping this is coming through. If you have a question, feel free to ask. Those of you here, I guess some of the things that you might have picked up on what I've shared here from a relevancy point of view. If it was something that was helpful, that would be awesome. But at the end of the day, you're actually being very clear about what you're offering and who you're offering that to. You want to be clear about their objective and their outcomes. You want to be clear about how they're going to pay and what it is. To work together. At the end of the day, they want a result. They're paying you to give them a result. So what you want to focus on throughout your entire presentation is the result. The result. You, but they need to know what you're going to do, and they need to know why it's important that they do it with you. That's all you need to answer. Those are the two questions that you need to answer. What is it, and why do we need to do this right now? And if you can answer those questions and you've qualified the budget and everything up front, dramatically improve your chance of sales. But what most people do, conversation along that actually doesn't go anywhere in a lot of cases. Yeah, the plan, if you're selling the same thing, Mark, you've already got a plan. You already know it's the same thing over and over again. You're not selling anything different to anybody. You're not customizing your presentation for, in terms of the deliverables. You deliver a service, and what you're doing is you're helping delivery. So you want to be very clear about how you help them, what you do to help them. Ads person, you do exactly everybody. You don't is the is the same then makes it is a messenger or a call, and then give them a ballpark estimate. If they accept this, then I give them a full statement of work, which they sign. How you might refine this. Colleen, it's pretty simple. Just be very clear right up front about what this thing is, and then that. If you customize thing, if you custom job everything, you have to actually increase prices, because you're going to have to account for either, or you're going to have to account for other costs, because you're customizing a solution for each individual client, right? So the easiest way to do that is be very clear about what you're offering, what your service is. Makes it much easier, right? But what you're doing, I would charge for the initial steps. charge them, you know, $1,000, $2,000. Say now we're going to put together your estimate, so you can do it that way. If I was following your process, Colleen, I'd be charging them for the. Here's your. And if you do custom jobs, whatever price you're charging, add another 30% to the price straight away. That's what custom jobs should be. Mark says I'm targeting people who are running ads. Yes, that's who you should be targeting. People who are running ads, because they're people who are spending money. So that was issues here. Any other questions? Happy to answer, happy to take another question. Otherwise, I'm going to say, I hope this was helpful and I hope this is useful. If you can take away something and apply. Intensive, where we spend 2 hours on a Zoom call with clients scoping out. So you charge, Colleen, that tour should be you should pay, they should pay up front. There's no way I would spend 2 hours with a client doing a whole bunch of free work. It's talking about, hey, we'll build a funnel, and you know, this is what your investment in that funnel is going to be. You're spending money, right? It's awesome. Messenger email conversation is free. If you do this over a chat, then if you're doing it, if you're spending 2 hours doing the mapping session, the first sale you need to make. The second part is easy, because once I've already invested in $9.97, they've shown you that they're financially committed to the idea. That sale, if that makes sense. So my answer is absolutely, you should be charging. And I'm happy to take another question. I'm breaking up, I'm sorry. My full 4G on my hotspot. With that, I want for time in that channel. Talking about price, money, actually charging what you're truly worth, actually getting people to pay. We can talk price. We can show you how people will pay you a lot more. Stop any